Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you today?
I'm fine. I'm a little warm. I had a wardrobe change a couple times to get on here, and just hang in there. It's like a real Monday for me. Like I've been tired all day, and I slept like 3 hours last night. So naturally, when you
See,
said you were going to be on later instead of napping, I watched the game because
yeah.
instead of napping. But
Well, to be fair, I was on later because I needed to take a nap because I was not a functioning person.
yeah. Well, that's what I should
I,
have done.
yeah, I did not get 3 hours of sleep last night. My watch was like, "Oh, your sleep last night was excellent," and I was like, "According to fucking who?"
Who did you sleep with last night?
Hmm. I don't know what my penguin sleep coach was doing because it was not tracking me. I did not sleep as much as it said I did.
Mm, yeah. But yeah, no news for me. Nothing new, nothing exciting. How are you?
The look on your face right now. So if you listened to last Sunday's podcast, you will recall that toward the
Yesterday's.
end, it was yesterday that it came out, yeah. You will recall that I just wildly conjecturized at the end of the podcast without giving Courtney any warning that by the time you guys listened to that episode, I could potentially be engaged. And I was right. So yeah, I got engaged on Saturday.
And it was
Um,
beautiful.
it was
I wasn't
beautiful.
actually there, but like
But we did FaceTime you while we were still
beautiful.
at the botanical garden.
Yeah.
So
I was FaceTimed and saw the pictures and whatnot. So
yes, yes. Basically, we FaceTimed his mom and his sister, and then we FaceTimed my parents, and then we called my principal. um, we called my aunt who used to work with us, and then we FaceTimed Courtney. Like that was the order of people that we called.
oh, I beat some
Um,
of the family out.
yeah.
Sorry, fam. Sorry,
Well,
not sorry.
to be fair, a lot of them I also just texted rather than called because I didn't want to deal with calling people.
It's not the same. It's not the
No,
same.
no. And when I called Jill, she didn't answer. I FaceTime and I called her on the phone and I go, "You didn't answer." She goes, "I'm at the Sabres game. Why?" I go, "I'm gonna video call you again." And she was like, "Okay, okay."
Let's try this again.
Yeah, it's like you didn't answer. That was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, I couldn't get my video to work at first because I was like on the phone with my aunts when you called me, and then I was trying to like answer and it wouldn't like switch over, and so like it answered, but I couldn't see you, and I was like, I think I know what's happening, but I can't see anything. Like, but I figured it out.
But it was really sweet because we did it. We were in the Asian rainforest section of our botanical gardens here, which are beautiful and they're one of my favorite places. And I love the Asian rainforest area. And there's a moon gate, which you guys definitely have heard me go off about how I feel about moon gates on this podcast. And weirdly, the moon gate had a peacock on top of it, which has never been there before.
I didn't realize that. That's really funny.
Um, but if you know me, you know that birds, especially peacocks and crows, are like a big thing for me. Dan has said that he's now going to pretend to take credit and that he ordered them to put the peacock there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Second that.
Yeah. Um, there was also a velociraptor right next to Buddha, which I also just like felt spiritually connected to, which is a very odd thing to say out loud. Um,
But it's the only thing that makes sense.
right. And he was like, I wasn't going to be able to take you back to Thailand, so I thought I'd do the only thing I could think of.
It's so sweet.
It was adorable. I cried a lot. The ring is perfect. Um, and I'm gonna get married. It's weird. I was on the phone with I texted Monica a picture because she's on a cruise or was on a cruise this past week, so I didn't know if she'd like have her phone. So I just texted her a picture of the ring, and she texted me back, "Shut up, call me right now." So I did, and I was like, I told her, I was like, I just didn't call because I didn't know about like your phone. She was like, no, we're on land right now. It's fine. And then we were like talking for a little bit, and then she was like, all right, well, I'll let you go get back to your fiance. And I was like,
I love it. You're gonna be
yeah,
so gross.
I know it's disgusting.
I love it.
So I'm doing great. I don't know how long this warm and fuzzy will last though, because like I'm always going to be excited about being engaged, but also I still work with shitty kids. So like eventually
You'll be back.
yeah. So speaking of being warm and fuzzy, do you have a spiritual quote for us today?
I do, and I just looked at 300, so I don't remember which one I picked. So let me pull it up.
You did.
Yes.
Quite some time.
It took forever. Everything was like, we've already done these, or they're like too cliche or whatever. And I was like, nah, that's no fun. So I found this one and I liked it. When life brings big winds of change that almost blow you over, close your eyes, hold on tight, and believe. Lisa Lieberman Wang.
I love it.
Don't you? That's my.
I
See,
do.
it was worth the wait.
Yeah, it was. It was. You know what else was worth the wait? A Stargate episode that was actually about space.
It was about space, but
it wasn't great in terms of storyline, or really anything.
And all the things I thought would be exciting about it were not.
It also wasn't awful. It just existed.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but it followed up my favorite episode of Stargate ever, and that was like a high bar.
To be fair, that is no one's favorite episode of Stargate except yours. So.
Well, everyone else is wrong. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
You also didn't like Window of Opportunity that much, which is everyone's favorite episode of Stargate. So
was that our intro to the replicators?
No, that was the time loop where Jack just kept saying funny things because he was stuck in a time loop.
Oh, I didn't hate that.
You didn't like it as much as literally everyone else who's ever watched Stargate.
Yes, that is fair.
This episode, Stargate SG-1 Season 4, Episode 12, was called Tangent. To be fair, I also think that's a terrible name for this episode.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, my straw is not drinking. And so
that's devastating.
Trying to figure out how to make it drink.
It was rated
a terrible name.
Yeah. It was rated 7.7 stars, which is in fact higher than last week.
Incorrect, but fine. Fine.
It premiered Friday, September 15th, 2000. We have the same #1 book and the same #1 movie. But the #1 song was the first time that it's been a song in 2000 that I did actually know. So that was exciting because we've had a lot of songs that like I know vaguely, but I don't know them. Yeah. Like I've known all the artists, but I haven't really known the songs. The #1 song this week was Music by Madonna.
That was like my favorite song.
I distinctly remember enjoying that song. And then the next time Madonna had a big hit after that, literally saying out loud, "Okay, girl, you're old, get over it."
What was the one after that? Was it like a dancey one? I feel like it was a dancey one. Like
it was. Was that when she did 4 Minutes with Justin Timberlake? Because that was
that was farther out. That was farther.
Okay, that was the one that I for sure was not a fan of. I was like, okay, we've had enough of you.
I'll jam to it now, but it took me 10 years to be able to jam to it. Like I hated it for the longest time.
So. Music, on the other hand, I did really enjoy.
Real banger.
Yeah. The only information I have about that day, I saved it to be the only one because it confused me. Because in your memory,
that it's not a good place to be.
It's not, but when are the Olympics? Like in
Like
general.
winter and summer.
Yeah, so like Winter
Okay.
Olympics are in what months? Like December, January,
January-ish. Yeah, I think
maybe
they start like
some
I was
February.
gonna say January, early Feb, I
Um,
think. Like a
yeah,
6 week January, February time period.
yeah, great. And Summer Olympics.
Yeah, probably like a June, maybe a July.
Yeah,
You'd start summer.
July and August are usually
July and
what
August.
I
Okay,
think
yeah,
of.
that
Yeah.
tracks. That tracks.
Um, September 15th, 2000 was the opening day of the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney,
That's not summer
Australia.
anymore.
Correct.
You have
Thank you.
one more week and then it's not summer
I
anymore.
thank you. I was baffled.
What year
I
is this? This is
literally
2000?
yeah.
So it's not like we're like, well, no, that 9/11 happened after the Olympics would have.
Yeah.
So like, because we were put off for COVID, so we were like at a weird time.
Right.
But
What so
like,
what
we didn't have a pandemic in 2000.
okay, yeah. Okay. So we're all on the same page of confused, right?
Yeah,
Why were the Summer Olympics
not in summer.
so late in 2000?
I mean, maybe they like didn't plan to have them because they thought the world was ending.
Um, I think I had this thought when I wrote the note and then promptly ignored that note. Um, because Australia is in the southern hemisphere, which means that
Oh, they were in
July,
Australia that year?
yeah, in Sydney, which means that July is the dead middle
Oh,
of winter for them.
yes.
So they pushed it back so that it would be comparable weather.
That makes sense. I didn't realize.
I
I don't
did
ever know what year anything is. So
no, but I wrote 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney, Australia, and then I promptly was like, that's weird. And then go, maybe it's because it's Southern Hemisphere, but then I didn't write that. I just left
mm,
the note as it was and was still
you're like,
confused.
absolutely not. That's not in my brain anymore.
Yeah, but I looked it up and it was like Southern Hemisphere adjustment for the seasons. And I go, right.
Yeah. No,
So,
that makes all of the sense in the world. Why would you have I mean, I guess you have to have an Olympic in Australia at some point. So like
right.
wrong at one of the points, but like
Exactly. And it's
just
probably
have two
easier
Winter
to do
Olympics
this.
that year. Well, like every 4 years or whatever. I don't know. Every 2 years we have Olympics.
I feel like the Summer Olympic sports would be very upset if we just said, fuck you this year.
Look, I'm
And
ready to
to,
cancel summer. So
and
like
to be fair, gymnastics and swimming are some of the best Olympic sports to watch.
put those inside.
Those
They
are
are
both
inside.
ins. Yeah. So we just
They're
like don't
already
have
inside.
beach volleyball. Like what?
Just have regular volleyball. It sucks in the sand anyways. You can't move. Although me and Brian were arguing about this, and by arguing, we weren't arguing about this at work the other day. And he's like a hardcore like diver of sports. So he plays baseball and dives. And so he was like, I like beach volleyball way better because you can dive. And I was like, I like indoor volleyball way better because you can move on the court.
Yeah.
And we disagreed. So we can throw out beach volleyball. That's fine.
I don't like volleyball at all because it requires me to want a ball to come near me, and I don't.
Oh, I told you I played intramural in college. Did we talk
Yeah.
about this? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
So I played intramural with the band team. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was always the band team, but it was a lot of the band people for a few years.
Yeah. No, yeah, you did because you said that you did that, and I said that I just was a groupie for the volleyball team. Which, interestingly, the guy that I was the most obsessed with, who was a senior when I was a freshman, who like I wanted to marry because he was hot and played volleyball, he just got inducted into our college's Sports Hall of Fame this year.
It's for him.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. And he literally, even at the time, like was like so nice about rejecting me and like wanted to be my friend. He was like a really nice guy.
I got
Um,
a concussion.
oh,
One of
that's
the guys on my volleyball team. I mean, we got on
not
well. He's just like 8 foot tall, and I'm not. He felt bad later, but
yeah.
that was my
Um,
experience with guys on the volleyball team.
very different.
Very different.
This episode was directed by Peter DeLuise and it was edited by Alan Lee, but we do have a new writer.
Ooh. know.
It was
A
written
lot.
by Michael Cassett. He's known more for producing than writing in terms of TV. He's known for Z Nation and Stargate, but he's also written for a ton of other sci-fi shows like Andromeda, Twilight Zone, Sequest 2032, and Farscape.
New Twilight Zone or old Twilight Zone?
Old. But he's also more well known for writing outside of TV, as he wrote sci-fi and fantasy novels and short stories, and he's written like a ton of short stories.
Michael Cassett? Is that you said?
Yeah, Cassett, Cassutt. At one point, he worked as an ABC network executive, which is why he had a hand in a lot of the shows.
Mm-hmm.
And also, he's written 4 or 5 nonfiction books all about space. Like, this man has literally made his career telling people what space is like.
Look, that's what I'm going to do. Is it too late to do that? Can I do that now?
No, I think you could totally do it.
Great.
Unfortunately, when we get to the end and we talk about some trivia, I will tell you some things that he got very wrong about space.
That's okay.
But, like...
Totally fine. I will intend to get things wrong about space. I want to confuse everyone. Okay. Like, I'm not going to do something like stupid, like lie about the moon landing. But right. I'll tell the truth about things that happened, but I'm going to add a lot more too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. The guest star that I'm going to talk about, it was in the episode for about 5 minutes. But that's because Major Davis and Jacob and Apophis have all already been talked about, and there was literally no one else in this episode. So the guest star that we're talking about is the man who played Lieutenant General Vidrine, because he was literally the only other person in the episode. Yep. He is known for Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, Blues Brothers, The X-Files, and It, the 2017 movie.
This guy's like right up my alley.
He was in 5 episodes of Lock. A lot of cops.
Okay.
He was in 5 episodes of Lock and Key.
I love Lock and Key.
I know you do. So I couldn't find a ton of information about him, but he has 2 daughters, and his trademark is his mustache. And it is a very nice mustache.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good for him.
I was wondering if you were going to know him, because that list of things that he's been in are all super, super you.
So he looked familiar, but I just thought I had seen him maybe on like a different episode of Stargate already. I couldn't place him.
No, this would definitely be his first episode of Stargate. But also it is hard to place because this was 20, 30 years ago, and if you've seen him in much more recent things, he probably looks like he was already like in his 40s or 50s 23 years ago. He's probably playing an old man in things now. So
yeah.
So that is not necessarily why, like, he's not necessarily recognizable in that sense. So we start this episode on an airplane runway with Daniel, Sam, and Jack waiting for Teal'c to come back, and we have no idea from where.
No.
And then a truck carrying General Hammond and Lieutenant General Vidrine show up, and it's like a fancy military truck. My next note says Vidrine tries to compliment them. Jack makes a joke and it doesn't land. Which is probably what you can say about Jack most consistently for this entire episode. Every time he tries to make a joke, it does not work.
Doesn't land. Yeah.
Then Teal'c flies in on a spaceship and blows all of the car windows out.
Such a strange start to the episode.
It was baffling. They ask him to do another flyby slower so that they can actually take a look at this ship. And it turns out that it is a hybrid aircraft designed using 2 captured death gliders. And it has the ability to potentially attack a Goa'uld ship. Badrine asks how it flies, and Sam starts to explain the science, and he just says, "Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
It flies."
It's like, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, and then the credits come. So already one of the most confusing. I think this might have been more confusing than any alternate universe or time jump episode in terms of starts, because what the fuck?
Because like this is just normal day starting and nothing about it is normally what we see. So
yeah. So then after the credits, Vadrine asks Teal'c how the ship flies and asks, is it good or bad? Like how did it feel? Not like a science-y. And then asks what is next in determining if this would actually like stand up against the Goa'uld warship. And Jack says he needs to take the second seat so that they can go for an air-to-air live fire test. And the rest of the team heads back to SGC to act as a mission control. Jack and Teal'c take the ship out to practice. And suddenly they start overshooting the target, and Teal'c says that the craft is no longer in his control. They also can't eject or use communications.
Yep. And that's it. That's the rest of it.
Major Davis immediately calls NASA to get deep space tracking on their on the craft. And they try to find it. And Jack and Teal'c are heading rapidly into space. When they finally stop accelerating, not flying, but accelerating, and their entire drive shuts down. All of this is very concerning.
It's
Then when Teal'c tries to restart it, Apophis's voice just comes out of the ship and is like, haha, fuck you.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm so annoyed. Like, here's Apophis's voice. Oh my gosh, we haven't heard of him forever. This is insane. And then that's it.
For now.
Yeah, but like, I wanted something grander here.
Well,
like, you brought him back after all this time. I'm hoping that like there's like a fight in the solar system, or like you land on the planet he's at and he tries to kill you. Like, no.
Well, we're not there yet.
I know.
But Apophis says that the Goa'uld parts of the ship are set to return to him, and that Jack and Teal'c will now die in the cold of space, which to me seems like the most awful way to die.
Mm-hmm. It's not great.
I don't actually know what the most awful way to die would be.
Torture.
Yeah.
Like if you were tortured by all of the ways, so like they freeze off your arm, and then they burn off your leg. Like
that's true. Like,
I mean, this is a horror podcast, but like
no, medieval torture definitely probably would be the worst.
Yeah, because it'd be like super painful. And I mean, like, I'm sure, like, even when you get too cold, like as a person, and your body's not actually dying, sometimes it hurts. And like if you get too hot, your body sometimes hurts. But like, so like the extremes would be bad, but like combined with medieval torture, and it just seems like the worst of the worst.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I think a rack might be good for my back, though.
Could be till you die.
Fair enough. The SGC and NASA still can't get a hold of the ship, and so they're reaching out to all of their allies capable of spaceflight. Vadrine is going to go back to the Pentagon to see what help he can get there. Um, and Sam has a crazy idea that is like fragile at best. But George tells her, try whatever you can.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets contact with them finally, but there is a delay in the contact because of how far away they are.
At least they figured out very quickly.
Yes.
Like, it's not like they're like overlapping each other constantly.
Right. Which I think Jack probably would have been if he had more energy to just keep shouting on the radio.
Yeah. I think that's probably true.
Jack asks Teal'c how they're doing on supplies, and he says they have power and life support for several days, but it will take several hundred years to reach Apophis's homeworld.
Super unfortunate.
Yeah. Jack says that he's going to try to do the math on that one, but the math ain't mathin'. And so Teal'c feels like super responsible for this and is being like pouty, and Jack is not having it.
Yeah.
And they finally hear the comms go through, and Jack tells them everything about the ship and Apophis and what is happening in one fell swoop, which, like, credit to Jack, because if he would have tried to keep having, like, a conversation before telling them this, who knows how long it would have been before they figured it out. But he just was like, all right, here's the lowdown. Everything is wrong.
And we're about to die.
Right.
Just a heads
up. So then Sam responds and explains the timeline to Jack. And when Sam gets the message back about Apophis and finds out that Jack and Teal'c have like no control of the vehicle, she panics because the plan that she had required them to have at least some kind of maneuverability of the ship.
Yeah.
So then Jack, because he's MacGyver, reaches back out and is like, bombs, I got this. And he asks if there's any chance they can blow up the missiles without releasing them from the ship so that they can act as boosters, which, to be fair, probably the best idea Jack has ever had.
Ever. Yeah, no, when he was doing this, I was like, oh, you do have a brain inside of your head. It just doesn't come out until you're almost dead.
Yeah, it almost felt wrong that Jack was the one who had that idea, but that idea, the reason it isn't wrong is because that idea is very much not science. That is all like military aircraft, and he is a colonel for a reason.
Right.
So, so it was like, yeah, we're in a spaceship. Things don't work exactly the same, but like a booster in the plane will change the direction it goes. So that is something I do know how to do. So that was nice. But then they at FGC they agree that the plan might work, but Jack will have to execute it exactly perfectly, because if they do it too soon or no, too late, they will miss Jupiter's orbit altogether. And if they do it too soon, they will just crash into Jupiter.
Yeah. Neither of those is a good option. I mean, I haven't been to Jupiter, but
all the boys go there to get more stupider, and so I don't think I want to go there.
So that's not the place to crash.
No, and I don't think we need Jack any stupider. So
plus it's hard.
So not ideal. But Major Davis comes on the radio and like very rapidly explains to them what they're going to have to do. I'm so surprised that they were able to follow these directions, because I understood none of the words he said.
He was so involved in this episode for someone who, like, I feel like he hasn't been like this. Like, he's been involved.
Yeah, but
he was taking charge.
To be fair, I forgot he was alive. Because in the episode where they had that weird basically like brain programming stuck in their head, and Martooth died. Major Davis was the first one that tried to kill somebody, and they shot him,
to like get him to
Right.
stop. And he didn't actually die. They just shot to injure, not shot to kill, so that they could figure out what was going on.
Right.
But I forgot and just assumed he was dead from that episode.
Sure.
So when he was on the runway with them, I was like, are you alive?
Yeah.
Somebody else just who got brain taken over, like died. They like, killed themselves when they couldn't complete their mission.
Right. Everyone else did. Yeah.
Everyone else is dead except for him. I don't know how
They
he
just wanna,
survived
like,
that.
hang on to him because he's their like go-to. We need another character here that we've already used.
Yeah,
And
we don't want to bother introducing someone, but we need someone who at least has enough background development that we can explain why they know more than they really ever actively should.
Right.
So Major Davis can't be dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how that went down. But they do it. They get it. Everything's great. They start to turn, but then the weapons disengage and come flying back at the ship. And then we don't see them. So, like, again, that's one of those moments where you're like, did they just fucking kill these characters in the middle of a show unceremoniously?
But no, that would be crazy.
I've seen crazier things.
Sure.
I don't think
This show it long enough that it should be well written enough that it wouldn't do that.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I truly think the biggest reason they couldn't die is because it wasn't one of the main like 3 or 4 writers. Like they wouldn't give a rando his first episode killing one of those characters. Like that would be
rude.
Yeah. Sam checks the computer and it appears that the slingshot didn't work and they are still on the course. And she gives them the news that they are headed out of the solar system toward the Oort cloud. But don't panic because everyone on Earth is still trying to come up with a solution. You know. Davis, Jackson, Hammond, and Carter are all having a like team meeting trying to figure out what's happening. And they're discussing the best possible course of action to attempt to save O'Neill and Teal'c. And they're like going through like, should we focus on preserving life? Should we focus on like turning the ship around? Like, what are we gonna do? And Jackson's like, well, Jackson, I don't know why I suddenly started calling everybody by their last names. Danielle is like, well, I reached out to the Tolan and they don't have anyone close, and they have no ships close enough at this current moment to do anything. The Tok'ra do have one, but I talked to a niece personally, and she told them that they have an operative, but they aren't willing to compromise, and they're within a day of Earth, so that hopefully they'll be able to finish their mission and then do the rescue. And Danielle is like, yeah, I got kind of pissy when she did that because I'm so goddamn sick of Anise and her fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And he goes, but she told me she was doing me a favor. And Sam goes, I think she was though.
Yeah. It's the first time we've like seen him get like mad.
Because he doesn't, like, he can't do anything. He gets frustrated, but he doesn't. Daniel's problem is that as much as he is a man of like words rather than action, he isn't really a sit on your hands and twiddle your thumbs kind of person. And he usually has a better idea. And if he doesn't, he just trusts that Jack's brashness will do the right thing.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't have an idea. He doesn't have help and he doesn't have Jack. So like what is he supposed to do?
Just lose his mind.
And also, like, Anise is particularly annoying to him. Like, I know Jack and Anise butt heads, but the, like, I'm going to tell you everything in as vague a way as possible because I can't actually tell you because the High Council won't let me tell you, but also I want to tell you because I want to be helpful. And I also am going to tell you in a cryptic-ass way that I think that you can understand, but then you can't understand it, and now we're in a fight. Like, that is, Daniel...
That's how I feel like my boss talks to me sometimes. We had today, this is off topic. I've been asking her about the same thing for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Because she told me to sit on it until she wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
And she was responding to a lot of my stuff today, so I sent it to her, and she was like, "Oh no, this is not what I was talking about. I was talking about something else." So I could have done this 6 months ago, and now I have to do all of it at one time. And that's how I feel. So like, she's the same as Anise. I get it. I get it, Daniel. I get it, Daniel Jackson.
But Sam understands that rigmarole a little bit better than Daniel does. And she's like, okay, so we know that they have an operative who is on a Goa'uld known planet that is within a day of Earth. So we just need to look at the map and find what Goa'uld homeworlds are within a day of Earth based on the speed that a Tok'ra ship flies, because we also have that information. Science is always the answer.
Yes.
Except
when it's magic.
Correct. Then we go back to Teal'c and Jack, who are beginning to shut all of their systems down, and they're probably going to need to shut down the radio too. But then they find out the news that we do maybe have someone helping from the Tok'ra. So Sam figures out which planet to go to, and they head out. And then, if you want to ever just cry for a minute, just listen to Hammond's radio message to Jack about not like just like being chill and not being antsy and waiting and like trying to like get through it. Because that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I feel like Hammond gave up way before anybody else did, and was just like,
I don't know that Hammond gave up. I just don't think that Hammond was willing to. I think Hammond figured that if things were going to go badly, he wasn't going to pretend to not care about Jack as much as he does. Like, Jack is like another son to him.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
He says that they will probably be rescued in about 24 hours. Teal'c says, yeah, we only have about 12 hours worth of oxygen. And once again, Jack goes, all right, let me do the math on that one. Sam and Daniel get to the planet, and they're starting to look around to find their Tok'ra friend, but then they get captured. Like fucking idiots. But the person they got captured by, luckily, was Jacob.
Yay! I did like seeing Jacob again.
Yes. He yells at them and very fatherly yells at Sam and is like, give me one good reason why you ruined this mission and wasted your time and almost risked your life to come here and find me. And she goes, Jack and Teal'c are in trouble. And he goes, that's good enough.
That's good enough, yeah.
Yeah. He was like, all right, I asked for a good reason. You gave me a good reason. Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
So they leave. They leave, but back on Earth, Major Davis tells General Hammond that they've done the calculations and they will not get there in time to rescue Jack and Teal'c.
Yeah.
And Jack and Teal'c start getting like really cold because they don't have any power on the ship. And Teal'c says that he's going to go into a deep Kelmo rain so that he doesn't have to just breathe as much oxygen, so that Jack has a better chance of survival. And Jack was like, who am I supposed to talk to?
You shouldn't be talking. That wastes your air oxygen levels. But also, I get it.
And then Teal'c says his goodbyes, and they are so heartbreaking. And he's like, do you have anything else to say? And Jack's like, how am I supposed to follow that?
Yeah.
He's like,
I know.
It's like, back at you. And then we go back to the Tok'ra ship where the ship is in hyperspace, but it's like wobbling. And Jacob says that they're going at 132% of their capacity of speed just to try to get there in time.
I was like, oh no, that doesn't sound good.
But also, if 100% is 24 hours,
You need to go at least 150%.
well, yeah,
Well,
what would 132%? What would that be?
Like 16, I mean, like 18 hours?
Yeah, so I need my calculator. I would need to multiply 132 by 24 and then divide by 100. Nope, that can't be right. No, because then I got 32.
So 132 times 24. No, 132 divided by 24.
Yeah,
No.
hold on.
We are so good at math.
100 divided by 32. No. I don't know what the math on that would be. I don't know how to do speed rates. I thought I was doing something really intelligent with fractions, and I realized I was all the fucking way wrong. So, I don't teach math for a reason. But somehow I think 132% is still not mathematically correct.
You do 100% divided by 24.
Okay, so 100 divided by 24 is like 4 hours at a percent. So then times, no.
So then you add like a quarter of that back. So 100 divided by 24. So you take 4 hours off. So it'd be like 24 minus. So it'd be like 20 hours. 19 and a half.
Something, yeah. I'm
Probably
gonna ask
19.
I'm gonna ask a math teacher how I would figure that
Do that and then tell him I said 19 and I'm right.
out. Okay. So, the problem is I don't know what the speed is. Like percentage doesn't mean anything. Because the problem is we don't know the speed or the distance. We just know a percentage and a time.
I don't
feel
know.
Okay.
19 hours. Just trust.
Okay. Daniel wants to just beam them up, and then we get a really funny Star Trek joke because Jacob is like, "What the fuck do you think I'm doing?"
That's the only thing I know from Star Trek.
Scotty?
Mm-hmm.
Scotty was in the last episode of Strange New Worlds, and it was so good. Anyway, Daniel, oh no, I said that. Jack radios that he's running out of air and then passes out, so like things are getting dire.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jacob again pulls the dad card and yells at Sam for thinking that they could retrofit a death glider in the first place, and that she has no business using technology she doesn't understand, which she is very offended by. But also he's correct.
Yeah.
But kind of. Like, she's like, all of the technology you guys have, you stole from other people anyway. So, like, what's any different between that and this? And he's like, the ability to know how to use it is the difference.
Right. So, like, while she's not wrong logically, she's not taking into account all of logic.
Yeah, because, like, and he's like, take a baby step. Like, use a piece of an engine. Like, figure something out. But you can't retrofit the entire death glider when you don't fucking understand the technology.
Yeah.
That would be like somebody who's never seen an iPhone like before, taking it and creating their a whole new like mobile network device.
Yeah.
Then the ship starts to fall apart and they drop out of hyperspace, right into a pocket full of Goa'uld motherships.
Yeah, good times. Good times.
And Jacob, with probably the second dumbest decision anyone has ever made, leaves Daniel alone to communicate with the Goa'uld.
At this part, I was like, "Are you kidding me right now? This is our choice now."
So the problem is that everyone else is like, oh, languages, you can do that. You and I are like, Daniel never fucking knows what he's doing. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And Jacob and Sam go to repair the ship and leave Daniel alone. We flash back to SGC really quick, just so Hammond and Davis get Jack's message finally, but they don't reply because they don't have anything else to say to him, and it's too sad. Back in space, the Goa'uld reach out to the ship, and Daniel responds that he is the great and powerful Oz.
Yeah. I was like, no, this is why you can't leave Daniel to his own devices. Like, sure, he knows the Garble dialect. That's important. That's good. But you got to tell him what to say if you like are gonna leave him.
Yeah. So while I don't know that I would have come up with anything better, I also don't think I would have come up with anything worse, because that has got to be. Because then of course the Goa'uld attack. Because
Yeah, as they should. As they should.
Because that was idiotic. Then, after 3 hours, Hammond is preparing to send his final goodbye message to Jack, which is about to be utterly heartbreaking. But then Sam radios in that they are in the solar system and ready for retrieval. So the ship gets up to the Death Glider, and Sam is yelling on the radio channels to get a hold of Jack to wake him up. And then he finally does, but he's suffering from anoxia, so he like thinks he's hallucinating. He's like making absolutely no sense. And she's like, no, but you need to wake up, Teal'c. And he does by throwing a pen at Teal'c's head. And Teal'c, who was not oxygen deprived, is able to communicate and understand with Sam a little bit better. And Jacob and Sam explain the plan. And the plan is to literally drop themselves into space.
And hope for the best.
Now, thank God it worked.
Yes.
Also, with this whole season 4 love story that is happening, if Sam had been like, I need you to drop yourself out of the spaceship and hope for the best, and her dad had missed,
she would have killed herself immediately.
she would have thrown herself out the window after him.
Yeah. Everyone would have died in space.
Yeah. Except for Jacob, because his Tok'ra host would have taken over to stop him from doing that.
Sure.
And Daniel, because I don't think he has a heart.
Yeah, he's not in love with any of them or trying to marry them, so he would have made it through. He would not have made any of the right decisions
if there was another random girl on the spaceship, he would have been in love with them
before. Yeah.
But luckily, none of the random characters we've never met before were women, so Daniel's safe. Yeah. So then Jack and Teal'c push off and out of the glider, and they get on board through the rings. They call SGC and let them know, and when SGC gets the message, they throw a little party and throw all their papers in the air. And then I think, God, I hope you didn't need any of those, because you're gonna have a fucking hard time putting them back together. Every time I see an office party where people throw papers in the air, that's all I think.
Oh my God. Every time the cleaning lady stacks my papers together, I panic. Yeah. And all I have to do is like figure out where the like stack line is and unstack them. But like it throws off my whole day.
Yeah.
I had to leave notes so that they wouldn't do that because they were just stacking all my papers together.
Which I appreciate you thinking that I need you to clean my desk, and I love that. I love that for you, but don't.
Yeah. And but I do want in my life, maybe, so quick interlude, I might be taking the bar again coming up. So after I do that, I will have lots of papers and I will just throw them in the air because I always want to do that. But again, in reality, it does not work. So
Right.
I need to do something that I'm not going to look at ever again.
Absolutely. But I do have some trivia for this episode.
Yay!
In fact, I have a decent amount of trivia for this episode. Some of them are things that are not even, this doesn't even say like connections on this app of like connections to other stories or like mentions of anything, but obviously there was a Star Trek quote in it, so
sure.
couple quite a few things. There are 8 things listed as goofs. It is stated that the Death Glider was traveling at 1 million miles per hour, and even if Jupiter was at its absolute closest to Earth, it would take 15 days for it to get there if traveling in an exact straight line. Yeah. I'm not going to read that one yet because there's other issues. Oh, in the beginning, Teal'c says that he is, that if they need to look for him southwest or turn southwest, and they do, but then he comes straight up a runway, and there are and the runway is listed as number as 18, and all airline runways are demarked by the degrees they are. So runway 18 would be 180 degrees from the air tower, which means it would be facing due south, not southwest.
Ooh.
So that is incorrect. The Oort cloud, if they were leaving a Jupiter, is actually going to be 21 years away, not a few months. They have no concept of space travel.
Sure. I mean, neither do we, so it's okay.
Yeah. And speaking of having no concept of space travel, the one thing that is actually so incorrect that if they did it correctly, it would destroy the entire episode, is that the lag for space is worse the farther out you are. They say that there's a 3-minute delay. The most likely place in space to have a 3-minute delay is Mars. If you have made it all the way to Jupiter, the minimum radio delay would be 40 minutes.
That's too many minutes when you only have 12 hours to live.
Correct. So if they were scientifically accurate about the radio delay in this episode, Jack and Teal'c would be dead and the show would be over.
Mm-hmm.
So they also then randomly, after passing Jupiter, show a close-up of them passing a star. And in our galaxy, the only star that you would be able to see that brightly or deeply is the sun. And they are traveling in the opposite direction.
Makes sense.
So also they do everything in Zulu time, which Zulu time is an actual time that is used by pilots and things who are traversing multiple time zones. So like aircrafts and space would use it to make sure that everyone is synced to the same time zone or like the same time. The problem is there is no scientific reason for them to be using Zulu because all of their watches are already synced to the same time zone. They're all coming at it from mountain time. And that means that they're wasting time to calculate the time difference.
No, that's too much.
Jack is suffering from anoxia and oxygen deprivation and is wasting time translating the time zone. So, while the episode wasn't awful, it also wasn't good, and all of the science in the episode was
wrong?
incorrect.
Yeah.
So it's
That tracks.
definitely not my favorite episode. But while we're here, I guess the question is, who do you want to punch?
I would like to punch Daniel Jackson for just
Okay.
being a moron. I wanted to punch Papa that he didn't show up. So
That's fair. I think I would like to punch, I guess Sam. Purely, for risking her life for Jack again, which as a viewer I love. As a human, I think that that's a bad military decision.
yeah.
Also for making him use Zulu time for no reason. And because the one other trivia or goof is that if this were to have happened, Teal'c and Jack would have needed immediate severe medical care after being exposed to space. Like, she was like, that was the other science that was some bullshit.
Yeah.
She was like, it'll be fine if it's only for a few seconds. The fuck it will.
That's not how it works. Yeah.
No.
That one I knew. That one I knew.
Yeah, so the fact that the scientist of the episode has gotten every scientific fact wrong, which may not be her fault because it is fiction and someone else did write it. I have to punch her.
Fair.
Who is your MVP?
You know, gonna be Teal'c. Maybe it should be Jack, but it's gonna be Teal'c because he kept up with everything. He knew exactly what they needed, and he put himself in countering to protect Jack and make sure he had more of a chance to live.
Surprisingly, I mean, not surprisingly, I also would have picked Teal'c, but surprisingly, my backup is not going to be Jack.
Oh, okay.
My backup is, weirdly enough, going to be Major Davis. Because this is not his team. He is not as the same kind of emotionally invested in saving them that Sam and Daniel are. So he is a little more rational, but he also doesn't give up. He is fully invested in this rescue mission and doing everything that General Hammond needs him to do and being the most level-headed of all of them, but without and doing it with a level head, which then none of the rest of them are, including General Hammond.
Right.
So that Major Davis is my MVP.
Fair.
Do you have any other thoughts, theories, comments, questions, concerns?
I assume we'll see a Papa soon enough, since we got 2.5 seconds of him today. Otherwise, it's about time for Daniel to fall in love again. So could be around the corner. I don't know. Not a lot to go on there. So this is just pure conjecture.
I will just tell you that one of those theories might be correct.
Ooh.
I won't tell you which one, and I won't tell you how much of it.
It's all of them.
But yeah, if you have any thoughts,
do you have any hints for next week, or was that your hint?
That is my hint that one of your theories
gotcha.
is correct. Yeah. If you, my lovely DNA fam, have any thoughts, theories, concerns, questions, whatever, if you want to talk to Courtney about taking the bar exam or how hot it is, if you want to talk to me about wedding planning, So
Or how hot
Saturday.
it is.
Or how hot it is. You can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And with that, we will see you all on Thursday for a Thriller Thursday episode where we get into season 2 of The Exorcist.
It's gonna be a fun one.
It sure is. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.